Hello and welcome back to the Washington College Sports Spotlight Series. This time, the spotlight falls on Gage Williams. Gage, how are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
You guys on the trap and skeet team at Washington College had your national championships last month, and you guys performed very well. The first ever team top 10 high overall finish, ninth out of 28, and as well as a slew of other accolades. You guys performed very well. If you don't mind, could you tell me a little bit about what it was like for you and the team at those national championships? Just take me through the experience a little bit, if you could.
So, first thing right through the gate, when you all get there as a team, you're coming through the airport. Everyone's looking at you. I mean, you're carrying these big cases and all, and we're going through meeting all these other schools. And I've never been to one of these national events through the school anyway. I've been personally, but there's just a wide sea of people. Like it's hard to describe. As you get onto the range or the complex anyway, you go through, you see like Clemson and Stetson and a whole bunch of other schools. So it's just kind of like a inspiring moment. You're like, wow, we're here. We're really doing this. We're competing against all the schools in the country, kind of thing. It's really cool. Um, Experience wise, excellent. You got to meet people from all over the place. I think there was a whole bunch. Of course, there's a bunch of kids from Texas A&M. There's a couple from up north. It's just really cool to go through and be able to see everybody, go through, see all the vendors, all your like Remington, Craig Alpharetta. There's a whole bunch of people there. There's just a lot of different people there that are competing at much higher levels than you are, but there's also people below you as well. So it's really cool to get to go through and see everybody competing in their own disciplines.
Tell me a little bit about just what your role on the trap and skeet team is, and sort of how you what you perform in, what you compete in for Washington.
So in the team aspect, we all don't have just a specific spot where we compete. We compete in every event. So each member of the team competes in every event. I specifically was trained in sporting clays prior to entering Washington College. So I'll compete in sporting clays and try. I'm kind of expected to, but I'm not delegated to compete at a higher level in that event. But like I said earlier, we all compete in every event. So you got to go through and hold your part and do the best you can in every event.
So trap and skeet is not exactly the most popular collegiate sport. If you could, as you said, you were trained in sporting clays a little bit before you got to Washington. Tell me a little bit about how you started shooting, when that began, and what led you to Washington.
Okay, so we'll start this off with how it started. So as a kid, I was very heavily involved in waterfowl hunting, and sporting clays is a very lifelike, realistic way of competing. So instead of the little clays, instead of them flying from certain areas or certain designated locations, they kind of try to imitate a real world hunting experience. So that kind of started me into the whole clay shooting, competitive clay shooting. Went through, was competing on my own for several years. I think like 10 years before I really got picked up by Washington. And when I say picked up, it was more just I saw this guy at an event with a college shirt, and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And he approached me, and it was Coach Doug, and he just kind of just put it out there, put it into my view that hey, these colleges have shooting teams, which even as a shooter in the shooting world, I didn't really even notice it until he approached me about it. So that's kind of how I got drawn onto the team.
So going back to those championships you guys had last month, you yourself, I mean, had an outstanding performance and were one of the top performers. Tell me a little bit about your experience performing at the national championships in San Antonio, and just I guess what led into you being able to place so high.
I guess my personal performance at the shoot was, I would say I performed better than I usually do at practices. It is a lot of pressure on you. So you're really just driving and grinding through everything you know and just going through your basics, trying to just go through and break every single target, just trying to go through and just one more target, one more target. Um, I think just a lot of training and a lot of practice, all time on the range really goes through and helps you put up these high scores. Like trap and skeet are very, I don't want to say simple because they're very headstrong events, but they're repetitive. You got to really dig in deep and just keep going and keep grinding. Whereas sporting clays is a little bit different, but you also have to train differently. That way you can go through, read and predict what the target's doing in order for you to actually go through and break it. So it's really a lot of time on the range mixed with a lot of like head game and a lot of practicing, just mentally, just to be able to be prepared for these events.
What goes into once you've decided to, to start shooting, to start competing in sporting clays or some other similar event? What goes into improving on your own time? Like, what were the resources that you pulled on, I guess, to improve on your own while you were competing on your own time, before your collegiate days?
So while competing before college, I had a coach, Bruce Nye. He's a world-renowned sporting clays competitor. He has a couple titles, national, and I think a couple world titles. And it's excellent to have a resource there like that for you to be able to train with. So I would be able to say that he is probably one of my driving factors for being able to shoot and put up the scores that I do. He will say though, your head game, you got to practice that on your own. Like you just go through and you just got to think about stuff. You don't worry about it. You don't let the stress really get to you, or you try your best not to anyway. But without a doubt, like on your own time, even when you're not on a course or actually training, just go through and think through your head how you want to break that target, or how you're grinding through to just be able to stay in the game, so to speak. Even like tracing corners of your wall, just trying to keep a straight line. That way it's just basics. Because if you can't keep a straight line, there's no way you're going to be able to follow through and break a target. So there's just little things you can do the whole time while you're just even sitting around doing homework if you just need to doze off for a little bit.
So we'll switch gears here a little bit. If you could talk to me about your studies at Washington and some of your plans that you might have for your future after graduation, if you've gotten that far yet.
So my current studies are environmental sciences is my intended major. I'm also intending to minor in business management. Uh, Currently, I work as an intern down at the Watershed Innovations Lab down at Siemens Griswold Hall. So on top of sports, I have an internship down there. Um, After school, I'm hoping to just kind of go through and it sounds bad to like try stuff out. Mostly just go through with your business management, try to kind of run my own thing, see what I could do, especially with the environmental side, see if I could do maybe like a land surveying or something like that. That way, it kind of lets me get up on my feet, but it also gives me leeway to kind of grow into something else if something else pulls at my interest.
So with that internship, what are some of the things you do on a day-to-day basis, or what are some of the responsibilities you have?
So with that internship down at the lab, I work very closely with Dr. Levin, Doug Levin, if you choose to go online. But I do. So we have a couple youth projects, Aquabots, Build a Buoy, and those two are specifically more like a K through 12. We can go into college education if we choose, but it's trying to teach engineering in a simpler way. It's like tricking people into learning engineering. Is I believe that's how Doug words it. Is you go through and like I'll go through and build these kits for these kids. It's basically an underwater sub with a little camera, but I don't want to say dumbed down, but it's a lot more simple. And you let the kids go through and build their own sub with these pieces of PVC, and then of course attach the motors and the camera, which are already kind of pre-wired for them. So they're learning how the PVC and all built, how to build it, and kind of structure it to be successful. Also, you got to learn like buoyancy and all this other stuff, while also trying to figure out how to get the camera to work and all that other stuff. Build a buoy, you go through and try to build a buoy and see how many golf balls you can keep on the frisbee. So like I forgot what the record is, but we'll go through the different schools, even local schools like Kent County Middle School, and with these little tubs and these pieces of PVC, and they try to build a buoy to hold as many golf balls as it can, kind of hold a little competition. But yet again, it shows buoyancy and balance, just trying to keep everything equal. So it's very science heavy, but it's also like a fun way of doing it. On top of that, I also do their watershed monitoring system. So like the water quality and all that stuff, we monitor that for up and down the Chester River.
So if you could, away from shooting, away from academics, what are some of the things that you like to do in your free time, some of your leisure activities or any hobbies you have on the side?
Uh, as you can imagine, a lot of my hobbies are very outdoor oriented, whether it's hunting, fishing, kayaking, camping. Those are my four big ones. I do like to just spend time outside, drive around sometimes, listen to music, just kind of chill out. I have a family farm back home, so I spend a lot of my time there. I say family farm; it's more like a hobby farm where we raise deer, do release ducks and all that. Just kind of helping the youth and all. Like we'll do a lot of youth hunts, like guided hunts, but not really. Just involving the youth in the outdoors. It's just something cool that we do.
So obviously shooting and some of your competitions and your season, if you want to call it that, is a little bit unique. Now that the national championships have come and gone, what's next for you? I mean, what are you doing in terms of shooting at this point?
As of right now, we've kind of slowed down a little bit. We still do our weekend practices, or right now we're doing our community days. Like April 24th is coming up for a community day for those who are interested. They come out, they kind of shoot with the team, hang out, and get to try a little bit of our sport. That way, like this helps people to hear about it, but it's really a different understanding once you get to do it yourself. Personally, right now, we're doing a benefit shoot coming up, just kind of like a fundraiser, which is actually pretty common in the shooting world. A lot of your shoots are benefits for different funds, different organizations. Um, Competition wise, we don't really have any major competitions coming up for a little while. Right now, we're just kind of hanging out, going through our just our work, and just keeping our head in the game.
All right, Gage, that's pretty much all I got. But thanks again for stopping by the spotlight. Thanks for sharing and taking the time.
Thank you.